We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners for Tuesday, October 21st, 2014. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Langdon Neal. I'm chairman of the board. Seated to my left is Commissioner Marisol Hernandez, and to my right is Commissioner Richard Cowan. First item on the agenda today is the consideration of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, modifications? Hearing none, we will then move to item 3, approval of the special board meeting minutes for Tuesday, September 30th.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Hernandez.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cowan for discussion. Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That'll be the order.
The original has been signed.
The original has been signed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the copies that you have in your book are unsigned, but I did sign the original.
Fantastic. All righty, we'll move to the Executive Director's report. Mr. Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess Ms. Bateman and Mr. Allen and I are going to do our report. I'd like to start off with early vote and grace period registration. As you know, yesterday the president voted. We saw him vote several times on TV. And Mr. Allen,
State that?
Yeah. He was filmed voting, okay,
Yeah.
and they repeated it several times. But everything went very well. In fact, the first day of early vote, there were some hiccups, but it worked out very well. On the first date, we had 7,181 people that took advantage of it, and grace period registrations, we had 159. So those are the numbers for yesterday. Today, at 1 o'clock, we've already had 90 people do grace period registration, and we had 4,254 do early vote, EV, early vote. So it's moving along. As Mr. Allen and I were talking, you know, is this up or down? But since we've shortened the length of time that we had from early vote from 4 years ago, it's hard to tell. So I think by Friday, we'll sit down and go over the numbers and give you a better figure. But today, knock on wood, early vote opened today without any problems. So it's moving along. And if we're doing about 8,000 a day, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, that looks good.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, you're getting ready to say.
These numbers you're giving us are for all of the voting sites?
All of the sites. Yesterday we had a group called Souls to the Polls. They were church groups that were bringing people in to do early voting. They said they were going to do 600 yesterday. They did about 360. They got in, they got out less than an hour, so it worked real well. So staff down there has done an excellent job. What we've done is we've removed the grace period registration from downstairs in the lower level. We moved it up to the 6th floor. So now it's moving a lot smoother, and they have more equipment down there, so it's working very well. We're having a steady flow down there. So that's all I have to report on that part. Ms. Bateman?
I will report on voter registration. The registration department did a phenomenal job in inputting all the registrations that they received. As you know, we had every vote counts, an organization bring in over 100,000. And they were able to input all of those. POVA, we had the POVA registrations that we processed. Staff worked long and hard and did a fantastic job. So all the registrations are now in. Warehouse, we did pre-lat for all 4 pieces of equipment because now we have the e-poll book in 10 days. Mm-hmm. And it was a great job. The staff, staff at the warehouse did wonderful as usual. The ESC started leaving the warehouse yesterday. And now for the next 2 weeks, ESCs will be delivered to the warehouse. Judges department is moving along. I'm sorry I don't have the figures for vacancies, but they're doing very well with their vacancies. They've made all their key and cell phone calls to the judges who are appointed in those positions, and those letters will go out today. And I believe their assignment letters will go out this week. So they're doing wonderfully as far as judges vacancies. Training. Had some hiccups at training, but that's normal. With the number of training locations and classes that we have, it's not unusual that we have some issues, but everything's going along great.
but some we couldn't help. We had a fire at Harold Washington.
Washington. And we've had fire drills before at these locations where we have schools or whatever, but this was a real fire.
A real fire.
5 minutes into training, and they closed the building down, so they had to, you know, get those people into other classes. One of our trainers had her baby early, not at a training class, thank goodness, but during the training session, so she's out.
Didn't she finish the session?
Yeah, no, she had it like in the middle of the night or something, thank goodness it wasn't at a class, that would be. When Audra says, I've had some real hiccups at training, I said, you really could have had worse. You could have had the baby do at class. But other than that, it's going well. So they're working, the Judges Department is working on getting their key envelopes filled, they'll leave this office next Friday, and the judges will pick up the key envelopes on Saturday, November 1st at the early voting sites. So one per ward. So the judges that are assigned to each ward, they'll go to the early voting site and pick up their key envelope. So everything's moving along.
Yes.
I've seen some articles that suggest that registration totals will be higher than 4 years ago. What sense do you have?
I have that information, actually. Our current total of voter registrations is 1.368708, so 1,368,708. And thanks to Mr. Allen, that is 2.54% higher than 4 years ago, 2010, which was 1,334.
With still more to be processed?
No, we're done.
That's it.
Okay.
We're done. Everything's in.
All right.
Very happy to say we're 100% in.
They did a wonderful job.
Plus 2% increase in 4 years ago?
2%, 2.5%
2.5%.
increase since 2010. Yes.
Okay, all right. Mr. Allen?
Keep it brief. Early voting, as Mr. Goff mentioned, started yesterday. And the staff at the King Center, where the president has voted twice now, deserves to be commended, as well as the Secret Service in maintaining access for voters, even as they work to make that probably the most secure early voting site in the history of early voting. So there were plow trucks out on the street ready to take care of any kind of disruption, but at the same time we had a flow of the voters coming into the building, even as and when one voter in particular came in to cast his ballot. He did make some remarks on his way out that were relevant to not so much the election board, but the election code. I shared this with you, Mr. Chairman. He commented that you got to work on shortening the ballot. To shorten the ballot, too many judges, 17 pages, you're killing me. And I think he understands what's at work there, as well as the board. We've discussed that, but it was a long process for every voter who was using the system. I didn't see anybody finish casting their ballot in less than 7 minutes. So it's a rather long ballot with all the constitutional questions, the 70-plus, Gary, judges for retention, 73, and then the different judicial offices that are up on the election. Absentee, Mr. Goff referenced that the numbers are way up. Although we have some participation from online applications, the vast majority of the absentee applications are coming in response to mailings that the campaigns did, providing people with applications, and those applications then got routed through the campaigns or being delivered by the box load to our office. So we're already at more than 36,000 applications. We still have another week to go, a week and 2 days, and we only had 28,000 total 4 years ago. And the same law was in effect. But this year, the big difference has been the mailings by the campaigns urging voters to receive them, or to apply rather, for an absentee ballot. And then we're working to check on the status of our household mailing. That dropped very recently, but we haven't seen or heard people have received that yet. So we're working with the U.S. Postal Service to check on the status of that mailing.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Allen? All righty. And we'll move to old business. I don't think there's any infrastructure projects to
Nope.
discuss today.
No, sir.
Electronic poll books,
All's well.
all's well? Okay. Voting equipment, so far so good. Paige, anything to add? Okay. Legislation, Mr. Scanlon, anything to talk about from that standpoint?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. New business, approval of personal service agreements with hearing officers. Mr. Scanlon?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, shared with you a list of 24 attorneys who I would recommend be appointed or be offered contracts, professional service contracts, as hearing officers for the upcoming round of electoral board hearings preceding the February 2015 municipal election. Many of these are veteran hearing officers. We have 3 new hearing officers on the list, Mr. Green, Ms. Letts, and Mr. Ponsetto. And I also attached a template with a model attorney-contractor agreement. This is principally the same contract that we've used in the past, with the updated term to commence on November 1, 2014 and expire October 31, 2014. The hourly rate is $200 per hour, which has been the same for the last several years. With that said, I would recommend approval to offer professional service agreements with the individuals who are identified on that list.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cowan,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Hernandez. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
That'll be the order.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B,
Don't want, if we could defer that to the next
for
meeting.
item B,
please.
all right. Legal report, Mr. Scanlon, anything else to report from you today?
There is just one item I'd like to discuss in executive session with regard to pending litigation.
Okay,
It'll be very quick, I believe.
all right. Financial report, we don't have.
None of this.
Okay. All righty. Public comment, anyone today for us?
Well, this isn't related to, but one thing that's bothered me for years that when I was poll watching, and I was in a precinct once, and this man came in and he wasn't registered. And so I was trying to help, it turned out he moved. And it says, of course, that if you moved within 60 or 30 days, you could vote to a certain extent. And so I said, well, when did you move? And he said, well, 3 years ago. So I had to tell him that he should go, tomorrow he should go down and register, and then he could vote at his new place. But it's kind of bothered me. This guy cared enough to make a trip, and now we could tell him where to go to get registered,
Exactly.
which is very nice.
Yes. Well, thank you, Terry, and the League of Women Voters for attending our press event yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. Announcing these changes in the law and opening up early voting, so we appreciate the support of the League of Women Voters. All righty. I'll accept a motion to recess into executive session to discuss pending or probable litigation. That will conclude our regular meeting, and we'll return only to approve matters which were decided or required an open vote, a vote in open session.
Second?
Moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll recess in executive session. On the record, the board took no action in executive session, which requires a vote in open session. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to recess until our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be,
Well, is
are we
it,
going to be next week, Mr. Goff?
Yes, we have to do it.
Yes,
Okay.
which would be November 25th at 9 o'clock.
okay,
November 25. No, I'm sorry. October 28. October 28 at 9.
okay, motion to adjourn?
Okay, Chairman, we're gonna either have it at your office or my office because election will be set up here.
That's fine.
All right, we'll make accommodations for you.
Moved?
Would 10 o'clock be inconvenient for either of the two of you? If it is, leave it at 9.
That's a 21, I'm sorry, again.
28.
28,
I'm okay at 10 o'clock.
Okay,
okay.
10 o'clock.
All right, in either office, I'll just say.
Yep.
We're fine.
okay.
10 a.m., October
Your
28th.
second, Commissioner Kennel?
Yes.
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.